Welcome to this episode of the AZ BizLink podcast. On today's episode, I have the chairwoman of the board as well as the new CEO of Valley of the Sun United Way. Join us for this conversation as we share what's next for the Valley of the Sun. Jenny and Carla, thank you so much for joining us today on an episode of the AZ BizLink podcast.
So thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Would you mind just sharing, who you awesome women are in our community and what you do day in and day out?
Well, I'm Carla Jasa. I just joined the community as CEO of the Valley of the Sun United Way.
Welcome to our community. We're really excited to have
Jen.
Carla here. And I'm Jennifer Holsman Tetreault. I am the new chair of the board for Valley of the Sun United Way, and I'm an attorney in my other life or other role for a big company called U.S. Foods.
Awesome. Thank you again for being here. Valley of the Sun United Way has been doing phenomenal work here in the local business community, and I was lucky enough to get further involved this last year with the Women's United Luncheon. The Women's United Luncheon is one of your many fabulous events that you host. Would you mind just sharing a little bit more about other events or what you're doing here in our community?
Well, you're right. The Valley of the Sun United Way has been here for 95 years, and I've been here for 95 days today. So we're excited to be here.
What a great milestone.
Yeah, I just realized that match, so that's kind of fun. And the United Way has been here for all those years, helping to address the most pressing needs facing the residents here of this community. And most recently, in particular, with the Women United Luncheon, helping to support fighting hunger for children, helping to support fighting homelessness for families, and helping to ensure that students throughout the county have equitable access to the same levels of education.
So now beyond our really critical mission-oriented work, but I became involved with the United Way as a result of some of our affinity outreach work. So helping to raise money for those critical issues, but also connecting with like-minded leaders and philanthropists, those who really wanted to make an impact in the community through different programs like Generation United, which is for younger leaders, Women United, for our women philanthropists, and now working with the board in some of our efforts. So I think that United Way has a lot to offer in terms of bringing together individuals who want to do good in our community.
So for those individuals that aren't necessarily familiar with United Way, are there opportunities for them to get involved on an individual basis, or is it more geared towards corporations?
That is a great question, because I think that United Way has traditionally been seen as partnering, for the most part, with companies who want to give their employees opportunity to give back through payroll deduction. But United Way has evolved to become so much more in terms of engaging leaders like you, leaders like Jenny, who want to give back on an individual basis through the groups that Jenny just mentioned, like Generation United and Women United, and their opportunities to volunteer throughout the year, even with your families.
So where could people go and learn more about some of those volunteer opportunities?
So I always find my volunteer opportunities on our VSUW website. And so by Googling VSUW or Valley of the Sun United Way, you'll find us. But the link is vsuw.org specifically. We have several programs about volunteer opportunities, including Operation Uplift, which brings together volunteers on individual basis or in groups to do great things at different geographic spaces or areas in the community. So as mentioned, you have those sort of one-off abilities to convene, and then through partnering and participating in affinity group efforts, those opportunities are there as well.
Carla, you recently moved here 95 days ago.
Yes, I did.
Curious, what drew you to our community?
Yeah, well, I've long admired this community, and I actually lived in Arizona when I was younger, so I love Arizona. It has a special place in my heart. I grew up for some time in Tucson, where my dad was a professor at U of A, and I came to this community from Orange County, where I worked at the United Way there for almost 21 years, and the Valley of the Sun United Way has been a model for United Ways throughout the country for many, many years. It's the 5th largest United Way in the country. It has an amazing reputation for innovation, and it's one that I've actually modeled a lot of our programs around in Orange County. And so when an opportunity arose for me to pursue an opportunity with the team here that I've gotten to know over the past few years, it just, what happened?
It came together.
Yeah, it came together. There it is. See, we're a team. So yes, I'm really happy to be here. And my husband and I have had a home here for the past 5 years as well. And so it's been a really easy transition.
That's awesome to hear. There are so many great professionals that continue to move or relocate here into the local market. So I'd love to hear their stories and why they decided to make the big move. But I'm happy to hear it's going really well for you. What has been some of the best parts about kind of getting back into the Phoenix community again?
Yeah, I think that the best part and one of the most surprising parts and one of the most heartening parts has been how welcoming everyone's been. It's been an incredible embrace to come into the community, starting from the first day when I walked in the door with the staff and the team, and then Jenny and the board, and the whole community's just really embraced me. So it's been wonderful. And last night, even, we just had a really nice reception with women leaders who came together to welcome me to the communities. It's been a lot of fun.
That's so good to hear.
She didn't mention this, but important and critical to her involvement in the community has been being able to connect with ASU. So I'm going to mention that as a huge Sun Devil. The ASU community has brought Carla around and onto campus doing incredible work. And then because I'm a sports nut, we're going to a Cardinals game later this weekend, I guess, in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And so we're making sure that Carla understands the critical role that sports plays.
That's exactly right. And making sure I'm meeting all the right people and not going back to my U of A roots, right?
That's exactly right.
I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
As ASU alum myself, I'm very happy to hear that. Jenny, you are pretty philanthropically involved yourself and with representing U.S. Foods, another very philanthropic organization. I'm just curious, what really drew you into getting further involved with Valley of the Sun United Way?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've answered it recently by saying that for me, I had someone ask, will you please be involved with the United Way? Will you serve as a campaign leader at Arizona State University when I had a role and position there? And so help to raise funds for the organization. And then after 2 years of doing that, while I was still at ASU, Valley of the Sun United Way asked if I would serve on the other side to determine where community funds would be invested back in the community. So at that time, we called them resource development panels or resource allocation panels. So I was able to see the incredible impact that was happening with the dollars raised from our community. And from there, really got involved with the affinity group. So Generation United, as I already mentioned, Women United have been part of Women United in this community, and also was recently placed on the United Way Global Leadership Council for women leaders, and then to serve in the chair role of the board. So Valley of the Sun United Way has really invested in me as a leader, so I feel really important that I give back and do everything I can from either a leadership or a philanthropic perspective. So I'm thrilled about the opportunity that continues to be there to serve.
That certainly says a lot about the organization. I mean, so many great local leaders get asked to participate in nonprofits here in the community, but for them to continue to invest that time and energy year in and year out, they must be doing something to make you feel like it's worth your time. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah. I know there are a couple other remarkable organizations that I've felt have done the exact same thing for me as well, but very excited about, how Valley of the Sun United Way is continuing to grow here in the business community.
And Jenny has also invested a lot of time in us, and especially these last couple months as I've been onboarding. As she said, we both started at the same time, July 1, and so it's been a fun time to learn and to hear from the community about what the interests are for the United Way going forward. And she's really spent probably more time with me working on United Way stuff than she has.
Great.
And other things, but it's been awesome. So
it's been great. Yeah. It's been great. We've gotten to know each other on a personal basis. Our husbands have met each other. We've spent a lot of time in social settings, and I really enjoy the partnership that we have. I was going to mention one other thing related to the entrepreneurial spirit of the Valley of the Sun United Way, and that's one thing that I have loved as a volunteer because I have served with other community leaders as a thought leader, maybe as a brainstormer to try to figure out what is it that the community needs or wants, whether it's a family philanthropic program or whether it's Weekend Hunger Pax and determining the need in that space. And so I do love that that's a critical element of the work that the United Way is doing and continues to do too, because I think that brings in different minds, different thoughts, and it will help set us up for the next iteration of what Valley of the Sun United Way will be.
Jenny, you briefly mentioned the Weekend Hunger Pax. Would you mind just sharing with everybody else what that program entails?
Sure. So there are tens of thousands of children in the Valley that go home on the weekends after school without anything to eat. And there are children who would repeatedly report that when they had something that they could bring home from school, they would hide it under their beds so that they would actually have something because they were starving and didn't want to share with other family members. Or conversely, they were giving their food away to family members and they didn't eat. And so this program brings folks together to help literally stuff backpacks. So we've identified healthy food to go into backpacks that will not only feed one child for the weekend, but a family for the weekend. So there are things in there that are protein sources that aren't just junk, but it's going to give sustainable food for kids so that they can be the best that they can be by having healthy body, healthy mind. And volunteers not only invest with their dollars with that program, but it does bring together community members, sometimes hundreds, or at the case of ASU,
I was just going to bring that up. When I was at
people
ASU,
together.
there were thousands of students, and they helped to assemble over 5,000 student hunger backpacks that were distributed that very next week. So it's an incredible showing.
That's right. And so kids take those home, and the food is put into their backpacks. So there's not a big show either, because we want kids to get what they need without being called out as not having enough. And so with the other really important thing that United Way does is put together or put into the backpacks encouragement cards. And so that's a great way to send a really positive message to a student that there are people in the community that care about them and want them to succeed. So my kids actually took some cards home and stuck them full of Pinkalicious stickers, which I'm not sure is for everyone, but definitely was intended to provide some kind of support. And then we said, go you, you're awesome, have a great weekend, in a way to encourage them as well.
I'm hearing a lot of great opportunities for corporate social responsibility or for teams to get further involved.
For sure.
I would like to just touch on CSR plans, corporate social responsibility, and why are companies now just taking notice or seeing the value of getting involved with other organizations here in the community? What are your thoughts?
Well, what we know and what we've seen from studies is that as the younger generation comes onto the employees, the employee front, that they are more interested in working with companies that they see are giving back to the community. They're growing up socially responsible in a different type of world, and they want to be able to know that they're working for a company that really gives back. And in fact, just yesterday I was at Nationwide because they're one of our key companies that works with us, and there was a young executive who actually was chairing their employee giving campaign, and she said that she had left Nationwide before to work at another company and then came back to Nationwide specifically because they were such a caring company and were showing that through all the work that they did, through giving their employees a chance to give back, through volunteering, through really investing in the communities in which they have locations. And that's what we're hearing and seeing. It's a business decision. It's also a community decision.
Yeah, I actually very much agree with that. So the United Way actually goes on site, can do community-oriented events on site. We also have community-oriented events off-site that will bring community leaders from different companies together to build a really important professional network of folks, again, who really want to invest in what Arizona is doing, what the United Way is doing, and to accomplish greater success together. And so this idea of community social responsibility is one that I think the United Way was probably in front of for a long time, because we provide opportunities for those to be a part.
And I'm curious, with companies like Nationwide or other organizations that you work with, are they looking to invest their time or their money?
Both. Both. It's usually both. It's usually time and money, and it's usually oftentimes not only their corporate money, but giving their employees opportunity to give back with their money and their time. So, and they also are interestingly starting to make more decisions about the types of vendors that they'll work with, suppliers that they'll work with, based upon their role in corporate social responsibility as well.
Thank you for sharing all that. That's super helpful for a lot of different business owners here in town.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to add is that I think the United Way does a great job with education to help the community understand what the needs are, whether it be on the poverty side, in our education work, in our hunger and access work for hunger-related initiatives. And so United Way has these incredible resources and materials that help to educate the community. So again, they can invest either their time or their money in efforts that really are going to make a difference.
One area that we want to do a little bit more work in as well as we move forward is seeing how we can engage new companies as they're coming to the community and are forming right here in the Maricopa County community, and actually formulating their CSR goals and objectives together with United Way as we show them and give them an assessment of what the needs are here and how we can work with them.
Well, however I can help, especially with our AC BizLink events that we're hosting. Actually, next year we're launching a corporate social responsibility session, so maybe we'll bring you guys on for one of those as well.
And love it.
That'd be great.
It's not very often. Actually, this is the first time I've ever had two guests on for a podcast, so I feel like this would be a great opportunity, especially since I have two phenomenal female leaders here sitting with me today. I would just love to know more about, what got you to this point as a successful woman in business, and what words of encouragement would you have for other young local leaders?
Why don't you go first, since you're local?
Really
I'll
great.
share. Yeah.
All right. So when I moved back to Arizona from New York, I just graduated law school, and I was working in a big law firm, and I was working an incredible amount of hours, which is not unusual for those that are business leaders and trying to sort of kick off their careers. But I felt a really important piece of my life missing. And so I decided that I would invest some of the extra time in the community. At that time, I didn't have a husband or partner. I didn't have children. And so I was able to work and volunteer. That was sort of the guiding principle. And every once in a while, I worked out. That's gone by the wayside now, by the way. And so I think that sort of commitment has maintained a presence in my life since I have changed jobs, whether it be from a large law firm to Arizona State to another company, Rural Metro, and now at US Foods. And that sort of driving principle about doing good has helped me to feel like I have a sense of balance, right or wrong. It is the balance. And then throw kids in there and a husband, and really that we come together to help the community as a team has created really how we live our day in and day out.
We're very lucky to have her, as you can see.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and for me, the way I came into this type of work is rooted in my family background. My family's from South America, in a country called Paraguay, and that was a country that had the longest standing dictatorship of the 20th century. And my father was very active against that dictatorship and actually spent time in jail and tortured. And so he just was a real advocate for human rights and instilled that in me my whole life. And so I thought I wanted to do work in human rights, work internationally, go to law school, and go to South America and work in new democracies. But I looked around as I was thinking about that when I was a student at Berkeley and saw that there are a lot of human rights issues right here in our own communities. And so decided to redirect my energies to the nonprofit world and discovered United Way about 22 years ago while I was in Orange County doing the work with local nonprofits. And ever since, it's been a love affair. I mean, United Way is an organization that, like no other, is better positioned to really take a global view of issues in a community and understand who all the pieces are that need to come together to really address an issue in a collective fashion. And so that's really the beauty of United Way. And I've seen that shine in Orange County and here. And that role evolves over the years, depending on what the issues are that are facing that particular community. And it's been a lot of fun for me to take on different roles within the United Way organization and create new initiatives and really see the needle move on issues in a community. And so I love it, and I feel so fortunate to be here. It's the career honor of a lifetime, and it's a community that I'm just so happy to be a part of. So it's been a great journey.
It sounds like you were born for this role.
Seriously.
We are so lucky to have you. So very excited to see what you do with Value of the Sun United Way, and however we can continue to be champions or supporters of you. Happy to do so.
I'm sure I'll have plenty of ideas.
I love it. So actually, Jenny, we talked about balance, work-life balance. I mean, we're all trying to do so much all the time. I'm curious, do you have any winning strategies or tips or tricks just for the everyday working person? Because we're trying to do so much all the time. Is there?
I'd love to hear them.
I know, I'm not sure I have great advice, except we do tackle things as a team.
Yeah.
So my husband and I tackle raising the kids as a team, and our involvement in the community. I always ask the family, can I participate in activities with the United Way? Can I lead the organization? And the kids have a vote as to how I spend my time away from them. The other day, Madeline walked up with, I think, 33 cents that she had found, and we had recently read something about the Weekend Hunger Backpack program, and she said, I want this 33 cents to go to the kids. And so that my 3-year-old daughter wants to invest her money in addition to the time that we've committed as a family, I think speaks a lot. And then, at work, we've created a team, and I found a company that's very invested in making sure the world ends up a better place as well. So I have really strong support system and great friends, and it also doesn't make it hard that I want to spend my time time at the United Way, right? That I can see the impact that's happening with our direct work, and I can be more invested in something that I know is actually going to have a longer term impact. So I'm not sure I gave great advice, except that we kind of tackle things as they come. We take it day by day. And our family philosophy is YOLO, in that we only live once. And so we want to use our time here the best way that we can. And so although I do fit in Netflix shows, we tend to spend a lot of our free time doing more things that feel good to us. Even though a Netflix show does feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that you're already kind of sharing those ideas, characteristics, philosophies with your children and passing it on to the next generation.
Trying.
I know that's how I was raised. You were raised, it sounds like, the exact same way. And it's amazing to see how different professionals embody that based on the way that they were brought up. Yeah. So thank you for doing that and raising the next future female leader.
Yeah.
So as you guys are out and about in the community, I'd love to know, what are your favorite restaurants or places to go? Because we do have the opportunity and the privilege of going out to some great restaurants on business and for fun. So what are your hot spots? Where do you like to go?
I'm laughing at Carla because she has gone to the same places over and over for meetings. So I want to hear yours. And then I have lots of ideas.
Well,
I think seasons 52 you've been to 185 times.
Leslie, it's good. No, actually, I will tell you that I have gotten to know this area for the past 5 years while my husband was working here, and I was spending every other weekend here. And one of the things that I noticed is how far the restaurant scene outpaces the restaurant scene in Orange County here in Phoenix. I mean, there's a phenomenal restaurant scene. They're beautiful. They're all architecturally redone. And some of our favorites as we've come to town are some of the basics. Chelsea's Kitchen, North, of course the Henry, but I love all of those. And LGO is a favorite for Sunday pizza and wings, and so we've been all over town. House Brasserie in Scottsdale is another favorite that I absolutely love. So I'd love to hear some of yours so I can get my husband and me out a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like I need to send a fabulous list. So we do like a lot of the Fox restaurant concepts. They tend to be loud with fabulous music, which makes it so that I can take the kids there. They're not screaming without, with folks kind of giving us assistant guide to be quiet. And so we like to go to places that tend to be loud. So any of the breweries you would find us at, Oso or Four Peaks, and then we do spend a lot of time at Fox Restaurant Concepts places, and then Barrio Cafe is a huge favorite of ours. I
recently went there. Oh my goodness, the food is phenomenal.
Yeah, chef is awesome.
She is so good.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other ones.
I just drove by the Taco Guild, right? The place in the church,
that place is
so
good.
Cool. I went there once, and I just thought they had brunch on Saturday and Sunday. I actually sent a text to my husband, not while I was driving, saying that we should potentially go there for brunch this weekend. So that looked like a fun one.
What are yours? Tell us. We need to.
I recently went to Restaurant Progress. That one is super good. I think it's a little hidden gem here in our community.
Okay.
I do love a lot of our resorts here in town, of all places. They have great happy hours, and the views are usually spectacular, especially the ones right there in Paradise Valley.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge sucker. Anytime somebody wants to go out for tacos or for Mexican food, we have some of the best Mexican food here in our community. But I have to agree. I mean, as I talk to other professionals, if they come in from out of town and I take them to dinner, they're like, wow, I had no idea that Phoenix had, such a great culinary scene. Well, good. When you're not busy working, I would love to know, obviously we can go out to great restaurants, or we can get involved in other nonprofit philanthropic work. But when we're not doing that or not watching Netflix, what other activities do you like to participate in? Or do you like to go hiking? Or what other things do you enjoy about our community?
Well, I'm still learning, and so I actually have been spending time in Orange Theory classes every now and then, which I love. And my husband and I have been doing some walking around the area. We haven't quite made the hikes yet, but my husband's done the hiking on Camelback on his own. I'm a little afraid of bouldering, so I haven't quite tackled that one yet. And I've grown a love that actually is an Arizona-born love, which is bocce ball. We have a
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I don't know how it happened. Well, I do know how it happened. We have a long AstroTurf part of our backyard, and my husband I just happened to buy a bocce ball set online, and we set it up and we played, and it's an absolute favorite of ours, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I have a little bit
of a title, Bocce Queen.
Bocce Queen. I love it.
I do too. These are all great ideas.
Play a game.
It's a lot of fun.
That's funny. Yeah. So we do like to hike. The family likes to camp. So we have been doing kind of an exploration of Arizona. So that's been really fun, going to different places. So we were at Karchner Caverns a couple of weeks ago. So that was really fun. And then this is my personal thing, and that is I just completed what is referred to as the wine Century Club Challenge,
Whoa.
which means I have tried 100 wine grapes, and it took me almost 2 years to complete, but I have just finished. So we take sommelier and wine type classes, and so that's been a really fun way to explore the valley, different restaurants to your point, and then different tasting areas too. And then I've been working with Carla to get some tips. My kids are in a Spanish school, and so I have been taking Spanish classes. I've done 3 classes, and so far I know how to say hello. And that's pretty much it. But I'm in it to win it here. We're ready to go.
It's still more than I can do. Oh my goodness. No, I always love to hear, what local leaders like to do in their free time, because, it opens the door and allows people to kind of get an inside look on, the fact that we're all human and we have personal lives outside of everything that we're doing in the business world. So thanks for sharing all that. I'm curious, as it comes to or relates to your own personal, professional development, do you like to read, or do you watch, podcasts or blogs, or what do you turn to for your own personal and professional development?
Well, I've always loved to read. So I love to read either novels, short stories, but I also love to read things in like Harvard Business Review, the Stanford Social Innovation Review, collective impact information that they have. They have a lot of variations on that. There's a lot of great material shared amongst United Way professionals around work and things that are going well in other communities. And then I think that a lot of good resources are available and are shared amongst people in our peer group, which has been really helpful to me. So I've been transitioning to the role.
Yeah, that's great. So I am really invested in poverty-related work that the United Way is obviously involved in, but I'm involved with other organizations in the community. And so I always want to thank Tamara Woodbury, the CEO of the Girl Scouts, who really invested in the concept of poverty and how it has impacted lives of kids in the community. And so on an almost weekly basis, she's sending me a book, sending me an article, or pointing me to podcasts. So I regularly take her up on the guidance and advice that she has provided. I've never really had that before with a person who is as invested in my learning from a culture community standpoint. And so I really appreciated that beyond Carla's work in making sure that I'm up to speed on all of the United Way activities. And then I have to say that US Foods really invested in the hunger related work too from a national and global perspective. So we're reading stuff at the company all the time about the things not only that impact our work, but how we can make a difference in that area. So I'm following you. I'm a reader.
Yeah, I enjoy all of that as well. I'm curious, what do you see the next 3 to 5 years looking like within Valley of the Sun United Way?
I'll let you answer that since you have a longer term perspective than I do.
Well, that is true, but I think that we've had some really critical conversations at the board table about the need to think from a long-term perspective. And so it's almost 2020, and that creates a great opportunity for the organization to rethink what we're doing now and what we want to be 5, 10, 15 years and to the next 95 years as we're 95 years old this year. And so 2020 will kick off an opportunity for us to really listen to the community about what the community needs from us, because we are a community organization. We have to gather feedback, and that will help us set the direction. And so when I think about where we want to be, it is about knowing what the community needs and wants us to be, and then leveraging our resources to make that happen. It's about building partnerships with those that we either currently have or haven't had, that we get different voices around the table to guide some of those strategic planning processes, and that we really are able to convene the community to make this area, this valley, even stronger than it already is.
Wow, I think she summed it up
I
really
didn't.
nicely.
That's what I would have said.
No, that's not true. Because,
Well, yeah, no, I mean, so it's a lot of fun because as Jenny said, this next year is 2020. The organization had 2020 community objectives. And so there's a great opportunity as we're moving into a new phase of leadership and the new year to be able to take a look at how can we refresh the role of United Way in the community, hear voices from the community as to what they'd like to see United Way doing, and then helping the community along with other leaders like ASU and others that have been doing this work for a long time to work together collectively to really move the needle on issues that our community is struggling with. And the beauty of United Way is it can really bring resources to the table that some others might not, and others can bring other resources that we might not be able to. But if we work together in a concerted fashion, there can be a lot of great things that happen.
I know there's only nothing but great things ahead for all of you guys. I'm curious, are there any immediate needs that the business community can service right now as far as goods, services that we can bring to the table?
Well, certainly, I mean, there's always a need for resources to contribute both to the programs that we support in the community and then also to some of the things that Jenny mentioned, like the Weekend Hunger backpacks, the snack packs. There's always a huge need for that. I was just talking yesterday to one of our board members who is at a school in the Murphy Elementary School District yesterday morning, and they were needing $2,500 to be able to feed 500 kids breakfast for the next semester, and they didn't have it. And so, I mean, there are lots of little stories like that we can provide, and happy to get the word out further and wider. But there's the need is great in this community.
I think not only resources, but it is that willingness to come and help guide us. We want to listen to the community, and business leaders can help us really see into the future about what's needed or will be needed. But also we need hands and we need hearts and people that will help us come together and build snack pack or backpacks to come and learn about our Breakfast in the Classroom program and invest in that, or volunteer with our kids, or to volunteer and tutor with kids who need help reading with our Velo program. So we need both the hearts and the heads of our community leaders and our business leaders.
And I would say the voices too. I mean, the voice of the business community in expressing the need for people to come together and really make a difference around issues that people are facing is incredibly important and impactful, especially when we're talking about working with policy decisions that need to be made and changes that need to be made. So that's going to be an opportunity we'll talk more about down the line.
So for those individuals that want to learn more, are there any social media pages or websites that they should turn to?
Well, for the Valley of United Way, they should go to at my VSUW on Twitter and on Facebook.
Oh, wonderful.
But wait, tell them about yours.
Well, I can't even remember now. I'm at, what am I?
Carla.
I'm at Carla. No, I'm Carla at Carla at Carla my VSUW.
I think that's right. And I'm just at J Holsman, and I just retweet what Carla tweets. So if you find me, I'll tweet Carla.
Yeah.
Welcome to follow us. We'd love to have you involved in our social media
If
outreach.
you can figure out where to find it.
We'll make sure we include the links for them.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again both for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thank you.